In this video of the Better Photography Weekly Challenge, we will be discussing the winners and honorable mentions of the Creative Blur contest. Our judge and mentor is Chandni Gajria. A self-taught artist and a writer residing in Bombay, Chandni uses photographs and text in the form of prose to explore personal narratives that are informed by her struggles, trauma, anxieties, and experiences. Her work is autobiographical, while her approach is conceptual in nature. Through her projects, Chandni aims to uncover her own psychological and emotional layers. Her ongoing series on her body looks at the female body as an overused machine. Apart from this, she has also worked as a writer with Better Photography magazine and later on freelanced as a commercial photographer for uh, Platform magazine, the CEO Lounge magazine, Lakme Fashion Week, and recently Netflix. Hi, Chandni.
Thank you, Nilofer. Hi. Good morning. Thank you.
Hello. So, would you like to tell us what you thought about the overall entries?
I think it was an interesting mix of some artistic experiments, if I may say so. It was very experimental. Lot more experimentation was, I mean, there was a lot more experimentation in the DSLR category than the smartphone. I think that's also because doing blurs with a cell phone can be difficult if you're not used to shooting with a phone a lot. It takes a, I think it takes a lot of practice for someone to, shoot blurs on your phone. You have to kind of think out of the box or like kind of think outside the whole Instagram square or rectangle. Because we normally taking pictures of tourist places or of places where we are. That's what most of the Instagram photographs are about, right? And that's where a lot of our images end up being. So, cell phone category is one place I thought the entries were not as much, but still good effort, I would say. I would say very, very good effort. And well, if you practice a lot, shooting with your cell phone, like doing serious photography with your cell phone, it's my personal opinion that I feel a cell phone can offer you much more uh, control than a DSLR because it's very restrictive. You can't fall back on a focal length or you can't fall back on a zoom length. That's all you have. You just have that tiny lens, that particular quality, and you still need to get a picture. So I think you can do a lot with a cell phone if you're able to get past the whole it's just a phone. But and a lot of photographers today shoot seriously with their cell phones, like and they buy phones with the criteria that it should have a camera so that they don't need to carry their DSLRs, when they're traveling. And I think that's a good practice to have, like when you're walking and when you're like traveling, commuting. I mean, right now during COVID is a different situation, but if you are kind of going out and about and if you have a camera, which is a cell phone, you still get to take pictures. So, yeah. Okay, this is the DSLR category first, and these are the honorable mentions. Uh, I particularly really liked this image a lot. Like it was a contender for being one of the winners uh, because I mean it's a reflection and it's been uh, photographed in a way that it looks like a painting, and I was just like, wow, this is pretty cool. This is pretty cool. So yeah, I love the way the colors are. I love the way you can't figure whether it's a photograph or whether it's painting, and it shows that the person has good observation skills, that you're not looking like this. You're not constantly looking just what's in front of you, because that's the easiest thing to photograph. The best photographs sometimes are when you're going too close to a subject, or if you're, how many times do we even look up, at the sky? Because the only time we end up looking at the sky is when you have those dramatic sunsets at 6 o'clock. But like, have you looked at, the sky, or, like how the sky looks, or how the clouds look on a sunny day? I mean, on most days in Bombay, you have like whitewashed, not that beautiful skies. But on some spectacular days, you have like incredible looking blue sky, and like those lovely clouds that fall over your horizon. So um, yeah, changing your perspective. Here the person has looked directly, and he has negated the whole scene of the trees or whatever that was in front of him, and chose to photograph something that is you know niche, at the reflection, and focusing only on water, which I think is very interesting and very smart, and also shows what you're choosing to frame and what you're choosing to keep out of the frame. Sometimes it's more important to understand what you should not include in the frame to make that picture. Here, the same image, if he had photographed with, with the trees and the reflection, uh, I would have been like, okay, it's a very normal scenery, but the moment you change where you frame, and what you frame, you can tweak how people can perceive your image. So, yeah, love the colors, love the whole feel. This is pretty good. This was pretty interesting. This shows that the person has tried, and they're trying to show you that they're trying something, right? They're trying something new. Uh, Like, I honestly expected a lot more scenery and stuff, in the images, because I think that's the easiest thing to do with blurs also, because you have something that is stationary, and you move, but here the person has moved and the camera is stationary. So you're using your own movement to understand how you can cause this very, um, I think, eerie kind of a moment. I think it's pretty nice that people and a lot of photographers are experimenting with what they're doing. So uh, I think, although that this could have been better, maybe with a background that was not just black. Maybe this could have been somewhere outdoors. You know, you could have tried doing something more with lights, because yeah, maybe adding some colorful gels would have added more lights. Maybe introducing some light painting also would have made this interesting. I mean, here's just me putting out ideas. Not saying that this is what you should do to win, but maybe the person tried doing all of that. I don't know, but I think I'm just thinking in terms of what else they could have done. But yeah, could have done a lot more, but this is pretty good. This is pretty good. Okay. I really liked this one. I really, really liked this one because it's very, very abstract. This could be on a wall in a house, framed, and it would look very pretty. It's very quiet, even though there's a lot of movement. It has that very subtle, subdued, quiet feeling, and I love the bluish tone of the image. Um, yeah, I don't know. Like, this is one image that you can kind of sit and stare at for a while, and you're just like, okay, I just want to look at this image. It's pretty. It gives you a nice feeling, and I like images which sort of make you feel that where you're able to kind of get this sense that I can sit and stare at this image. I think that's what images should do. They should make you come back to them. Images should leave an afterthought, or they should do something. It's not always like provoking, or it's not always that when you look at an image and you shouldn't always go like, oh wow, this is incredible. Images should Images can also slowly seep in through your consciousness, and maybe that is something I enjoy a lot. Like, I look at something, or I watch a movie, and if I'm thinking about it the next day when I wake up, I'll be like, okay, that was a good movie. It's left me with something. It's left me with a thought, and maybe I think I should go watch again, to understand the story. Or like a lot of times we go watch a movie and we come out of the theater not knowing whether we like it or we don't like it. But there's clearly something in it and you're just not able to figure it out. And we are so used to with this whole idea that, you want to know whether you like something or you don't like something. The whole in-betweenness of it, we're not always comfortable with. But I always like uh, images or movies or books where you don't know whether you love it, but the next day you keep coming back to it. So this was that photograph for me where I saw it, in the whole selection, and I went through it, but then I kept coming back to it and went like, okay, there's something here. I don't know what it is, but there's something here which is making me go like, this should be one of the winners. It didn't win, but I think it was there. It was there. I don't know how better you could photograph this. I don't think I want to give any pointers because I just like the whole feel of this image, the movement. There is this wave, there's this chaos, there is a silence, and if you go like in the bottom part of the image, there's more blur than, what's happening at the top. But just the idea of this, like, it's like a fly, like a buzzing feeling that you get. Yeah. So I kept coming back to the image, so that's why it's here. And I'm glad. I'm glad. I think some quiet photographs are are underappreciated in photography. I think people mostly like images which are too dramatic, and things are happening in them, and like, kuch ho raha hai, and there's movement, and there's the photograph is like, noisy in terms of visual noise, where there's so much going on visually. And I think this is the complete opposite, where it's just toned down completely. So I think such images should be appreciated, and more people should be doing that kind of work. I think we don't do that kind of work in India yet. I think a lot of photographers are now in the last few years, uh, you know, taking that route and doing much more quiet work. And by quiet, I don't mean like, you know, but like, I think poetic work or work that makes you feel, uh, than just doing very dramatic kind of visual, or having such kind of visual language where it's too much going on. So yeah, this was one of my favorites. I'm still thinking now, but yeah, this is one of my favorite images from the lot. I'm glad I picked this up. This is this was a very I felt like this person heard the conversation that we did, about what you decide to show and what you decide to keep hidden. And I think this is a perfect example of a blur, which is stationary. Here the blur is not caused by camera movement, is not caused by the subject moving. It's caused by this just sheer manner in which he has framed the photograph. He's used blur in his frame by framing it, behind this glass, and then there's like something going on in the background which is reflecting, I think, and all these I don't know what it's like, a fingerprint or like something on the window that's making the entire mother and child unseen, and that you can't see them. That's an interesting way to interpret blur, and to kind of interpret what you see and what you don't see. You can use blur by placing something in front that is going to not allow you to see the subject. I thought this it was very it was a very and it's a lovely moment also. It's got that very uh, you have a child's hand, a baby's hand reaching out on the window, and very soft. And I think it's very lovely moment to have captured. Apart from being a blur, I think the blur comes as a after effect. It's not like I wouldn't say it's like the main thing in this image, because I looked at this image and I was like, oh, this is a beautiful moment, and this is a beautiful photograph, and it happens to kind of interpret blur in this manner, and I think that's why I chose it. So yeah, as I was saying, it's a beautiful moment for me. Uh, this photograph, and it happens to kind of hide something and show only the child's hand, and making the image so fragile, so delicate, and you focus on something that that kind of symbolizes life and you know youth, and you know giving birth, and the bond of love. There's a lot of emotional layer in this image that I read into it. So for me, that works. That really works. That adds to the technicality of a blur, because blur is what? Blur is not an emotion, right? Blur is a technical term. It becomes like you doing light painting, or you doing a blur, or you doing like a static strobe shot. These are all technical terms, but how do you use those technicalities and make it into a moment, or into a moment that can level up your photography? So I think this image does that very well. I love the colors in this. I really love the colors. This is like your, this is how light painting is done. Like obviously the photographer has not taken the light and done this, but he has seen something, and he has used what he has seen. And this little boy standing, in the center of the frame, looking at this carousel uh, go around. It has this it kind of focuses on childhood again, like here the image, I think, brings nostalgia, or brings the idea of childhood with it being a blur image. So I think again, this was one of my favorite images to kind of come back to and see, because I think it has this very 90s pop color kind of a feel, and that's what worked for me. The color here worked for me. I think I mean, I don't know how much in control the photographer was with the surroundings. You can't, it's clearly taken in a mela, or, one of those fairs that happen. I wish though, I wish like, in the background, things were slightly more. cleaner, but I don't think it's very easy to sit here and say all these things, but I know when you're actually in a place like this, even finding just one boy in the center must have been a task. Even if he would have got someone to come and pose for him, I think it's an incredible feat because such places are so crowded in India. I mean, maybe abroad you're able to do something like this where, it's not so crowded and, the background will be, not that busy. But yeah, keeping the background aside, I quite love the feel of this image. It's very 90s, nostalgic, yeah. That it gives you that feeling for me. And yeah, and the interesting thing also for me here was that you don't see this boy's face. He's looking at this whole ride, and you're just like you're just with that character. It could be a scene from a movie. So I like thinking in that terms. So I quite enjoyed this image. This is the winner of the category. As we've come to the end of this category, I absolutely love this image. Um Again, this could be a painting, this could be a sketch, this could be a drawing. I love the vantage point of the image. It's taken from this angle, and it's got this noir kind of a feeling. It's it could this is like there's mystery to this image, and how, like, you, it's a girl walking, there's someone walking from that side with a dog, and you don't know what's going on. Like, who is she? She could be a detective, she could be a protagonist from a movie, she could be walking away from someone, or she's just simply walking, or she's or the movie has just started. So I quite like this image, and the black and white works so well here. I think if this would have been in color, it could have probably worked, but I feel the black and white works so much better. It gives you that um, old movie feel. Uh, it kind of brings that thriller vibe to it. So I loved this image. It was, oops, sorry, wrong thing. Absolutely loved this image. And yeah, I don't know how this image could have been better. Like, I don't want to maybe dissect everything, but I just like love the whole love the whole feel. The shadows, the perfect amount of light is falling on the ground, the movement with which the photograph has been taken. There is this space which is like on the left, which is like little bit black, and I'm like, that's great. Like, you don't know where the characters are going, and you don't see their faces, and that this is all the information you get. This image makes me feel like it is moving, that this movement is not stationary, that she is walking and the dog is walking. So it doesn't feel like it's a still, it feels like it's moving. So that is why this is the winner of our category. And yeah, let's move on to the cell phone, smartphone category. Okay. Hmm. I so a lot of cell phone images were in black and white, and this was one of the few images which worked for me in cell phone with black and white. Um, I feel what works here is the movement of, and this whole horizon of these lights going like this, and you see buildings, and you kind of get an idea that this is a city. There's a lot of negative space which I really like. Um, but I feel like a lot more could have been done here. Like maybe the vantage point could have been this side, or maybe somewhere else. Maybe a few more shots, because I think like this is like the start of his image. Like when you go to a location and you start taking pictures, this is probably his fifth or sixth image, and maybe few more frames, and he would have gotten the right kind of photograph, composition wise, and maybe feel wise. So I think it was a start of an experimentation, and it didn't quite get completed. So maybe a few more tries, and maybe he could have gotten a better frame. So yeah, again, black and white is a good choice because I think it's a city and you have buildings and there's a lot of color sometimes, or maybe I don't know. Sometimes a lot of color can work really well in blurs. In Wong Kar-wai's movies, in Chunking Express, there's a scene where the protagonist, the actor, is running and the entire shot is in slow motion. The movie's in color, and I think he's wearing beige or black or something, but everything around him is in color, and that movement gives you that the reds, the yellows, the oranges kind of resemble. They move and they kind of resemble like a painting, and it looks quite quite interesting. So maybe that. Um, hmm. I liked the idea of this ghost looking hand, and this hand and a lamp. It seemed like a double exposure. I know it's not, but I liked like this part of the image, if you know what I mean. The left side, which is like completely in black darkness, is something that I didn't quite enjoy because it didn't make any sense to me, and that's why this image is in the honorable mentions, because I like the half of this image, and maybe just that could have been a frame. And I think even with the hand, maybe the movement of the hand is not quite there. The idea of the photograph is there. You have this lamp, and you have this, I think it's a curtain or a door, and you want to bring a hand to it. It's interesting. The black and white works. The blurriness of it works. It's like a double exposure kind of a feel. It works, but again, it's like somewhere in the middle or somewhere in the beginning kind of experimentation. It's not quite there yet. Maybe it could have just been the black space completely could have been avoided, I feel, and maybe a few more tries again. Maybe the hand could have been at the top of the frame and not completely immersing in the lamp, or maybe something else. Maybe couple of hands could have done the trick. I don't know. So um, interesting image, but yeah, not quite there yet. I liked this. This uh, this is probably like I don't know. It looks that either the chairs were there or the chairs were introduced in the frame to bring this blurriness or this mischievousness to the frame. I like how there are two abandoned chairs in the middle. I don't know what the story is, but they're there. Maybe two people were sitting and now they've vanished into thin air. So I like reading stories of like this. And then you have this interesting looking tree. There's this something or someone has been moving across the frame, and it's nice. It's like, what is it? Was it a curtain? Is it a person? Is that someone's leg over there? What has been moving through the frame? And why are these chairs empty? So many questions. Um, I feel this was a good attempt. This was a good attempt, and yeah, I like here the black. here the negative space works. Here the darkness in the background works well for me. I don't know, maybe the photographer could have tried removing the chairs also. Maybe that also could have made a minimalistic, uh, frame. So a lot of things that you can try. But I like the fact that here the blur is like somewhere in the background and foreground. It's somewhere in the it's somewhere through the frame. It's not even like here. It's not even like in the background. It's like your blur is through the frame. So interesting way of doing this. Yeah, definitely. I really enjoy when people choose to do blurs, with a lot of people. It's difficult because artistically, getting that right is very difficult. I would give full points to the photographer for effort, but I would say you need to maybe this there's a good amount of blur happening on the what do you say left side and the bottom side of the image. On the bottom of the image you have her hands, you have uh, this woman carrying this thing, and you can feel the movement in the lower left corner of the image. But somewhere on the right side, upper right side, and even in the background, that blur kind of vanishes because it's not syncing, it's not artistic. It just feels like thoda mistake ho gaya. So that the half of the image looks nice and the other half triangle, the top triangle looks like, okay, he didn't really think about what's going on this side. He only saw this side because that's what probably he's closer to. But he forgot to kind of take in consideration of what's happening over here and over here. Like if I cut the image into a diagonal, you know, like how you cut a sandwich. He forgot to see this part of the triangle, and the focus is on this part of the triangle. So I feel that's where this image lacks. Also, this image I feel would have worked very well in color. I don't know, I could be wrong, but maybe I also saw too many black and whites over here. So I feel this image could have worked well in color. And also, maybe such a wide frame, because I guess so many people are here. Maybe such a wide frame was not needed. Maybe, just going tighter to 3 or 4 people in the frame would have worked for him. Yeah, because clearly this was like a celebration, and it's an event, and you have women dancing and dressed up. So you already have your movement, and you're the one who's stationary to kind of take the photograph here. So the onus is on you to get the right image, and this is a good effort. But yeah, a little more closer to your subject, and a little more tighter composition and framing, a little more observing what's happening around you. And here the photographer chose to keep everything in the frame. I think that was the mistake of putting everybody in the frame. Uh, you kind of have to decide what to show and what to not show. We spoke about that as well. So you need to make that decision that what are you going to leave out of your frame? What do you not need in your frame? I don't think you need so many people. You know, your um, your blur could have achieved. You could have achieved the blur by placing the camera niche, because everyone is dancing and their feet are moving, right? You could have maybe found a corner from where you could have just photographed the feet also, or just the hands, or maybe just 3 4 people. That also would have been interesting here. So, yep. Coming to our winner of the category, uh, the smartphone category. Uh, this is a very interesting image. I think I had to keep coming back to this image to kind of finally go like, okay, this is our winner. Um, because you see, there is so much space in the frame, and I don't know how the photographer has taken this. You know, maybe there's a balcony or maybe there's a slide somewhere in the park. I don't know where, but uh, yeah, you have these two kids playing in a park, and everything, the full background, the grass, is stationary, and only these two kids are blurred, and that's an interesting thing that you kind of, again, like childhood, like playful fun, you don't even see their faces, but and the colors work very well. Minimal colors. You have the grass which is green. You have these, there's a pink cycle, and even the other boy is wearing a pink shirt coincidentally, or I don't know, maybe it's color coordinated. So the colors are minimal. The colors work here very well. You have very few colors, and the focus is on just movement, and that's very slight movement. It's not a lot of blur. It's not like the guy is showing you so much of movement in the image. It's very slight. So that restriction also is a very good thing to have. How much of a blur or how much of the movement you want to capture and how much you want to show. So I think this this image got the entire brief of what a blur can be, and interpreting it and not making the whole image blur, because I think even I would do that. If I got a category of blur, I think the first thing I would do is photograph something which is entirely a blur, and entirely fitting to the theme. But here you take the word blur and you put it in a frame in a very minimalistic manner. It's like making a recipe, right? It's like making chocolate cake. How much of sugar you want to put? You can put full and make it very sweet and you will still like it. But how about you just put this much and just like a hint, just a hint of that sugary taste, and then you'd be wanting to go back to wanting more of it. So yeah, I don't think I should say anything else now. This is the right winner for our category. So congratulations. I think we are done. These are the final slideshow with uh, Vivek Singh from Mumbai winning the DSLR camera category. This lovely image, full of mystery. My favorite images. I couldn't get this image out of my head, and that's a good thing. Try to make images which people can't get out of they can't get it out of their heads. And you have Dr. Anirban Banerjee winning the cell phone category from Kolkata. So that's pretty that's pretty cool. I think congratulations to both of you. And thank you for making me a part of this contest where I got to see a lot of images and had a tough time deciding who should be winning this. But yeah, I guess I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Chandni.